Hey y'all, welcome to the T-Work podcast, hosted by Grant Banko and me, Adam Moreau. From entrepreneurs and athletes to the rat racers of corporate America and those who refuse to be put in a box, we want to share their stories and understand how they ended up where they are. Success and development come in many shapes and sizes. We want to hear about it all. So grab a drink and pull up a seat. Let's spill some tea and get to. Hey everyone, welcome back to the T-Work podcast. Joining us today is Victoria Gallagher. And I think we're in for one today because Victoria has her hand in a lot of different places. Even before we started recording, ChatGPT told her that she might want to pick a lane. So I'm really excited to hear about everything she has going on. But we would do a disservice, Banko and I, trying to explain anything that she has gotten her hands on, because this is not something we are well versed in at all. So with that, Victoria, I'm just going to pass it over to you and let you kind of take the reins, give us a quick intro, and then we'll get into the weeds as we get rolling.
Absolutely. Well, so I'm Victoria Gallagher. I would call myself basically a hypnotherapist, a speaker, best-selling author, podcast host, app developer, you name it. It kind of goes on from there. But I'm in the personal development space. It was something that I fell in love with pretty much from the time I was about 18. I read my first book, total self-confidence. My mom sent that to me because I needed it, and I embraced it. I did all the work, and from that point forward, I started taking a lot of seminars. I was in the field of finance, and I kind of followed my father's footsteps for a while, and as a stockbroker, got to a point where I was super successful, I felt, and had the corner office, my own assistant, six-figure income, nice car, nice house, husband, all the things. And then I was just finding myself completely burnt out and like, I don't know what to do. And so I ended up, taking some weekend personal growth trainings where we did a lot of closed eye techniques. And it was during that time that I decided that I wanted to help other people with, finding their passion and tapping into what moves them. And so I, learned meditation. I learned hypnotherapy, got certified, created a website, started seeing clients, started creating these amazing recordings, started getting a lot of transformation with other people. And from that moment forward, it kind of evolved into like my niche. They talk about, kind of needing to, it's like, oh, I can just do everything. I have like 500 recordings on my site, from everything from weight loss to sports to anything. And it was like I found, like, as my catalog grew and grew, my orders would actually get smaller and smaller because it was like I wasn't speaking to anybody in particular. It's just like anybody and everybody, I can solve all your problems. And while you can, you shouldn't. So I found myself really drawn to law of attraction and manifestation. And so I decided to use all the principles that I teach in hypnotherapy to help people to improve their mindset when it comes to manifesting and business success. So that's it kind of in a nutshell. I could go on and on, but that's my intro to me.
That's a pretty good intro. I'm gonna take a step back to sort of your finance job, husband, corner office, assistant. It kind of sounds like you had the American dream. And as Adam and I have gotten older, I think we've had friends, family, each achieve different areas of life where they're like, I've made it, or that's the thought. Like, as long as I get the house, the picket fence, the dog, the kids, I'll be happy.
Yeah.
Um, and I think a lot of people get there and realize, oh, this is it. Like, this doesn't feel right. But I think they also feel trapped because, I mean, it's hard to give up a corner office. It's hard to give up a six-figure income. How did your thought process and what was that thought process like during that time to sort of make that jump to transition away from that? Because I feel like that had to be hard.
Yeah, it actually, it was, I was tricked. I'll be honest, like, and I don't, I'm just trying to be funny, but the thing was is that it was like I just took one step at a time. I started going in this direction, thinking that I could keep my job as a stockbroker, and then I could build up my income on the side. And this was back in it was like 1998 when I took that class, and it was like 1999 when I actually took the hypnotherapy certification course. And I just was like, okay, I'm going to start doing the recordings. Okay, I need to get a business license. And the business license led to needing to get an office. And then the office led to, that kind of led to having to fill out all this paperwork, which my boss had to get a little copy of to do this background check on me. And so when my boss got the copy of the business license paperwork, he's like, "What is this?" And he calls me in the office, and he's like, "Well, and by that time, like I had already kind of checked out a little bit, and he knew that I was, just instead of coming in at 6, I was coming in at 10, and and
Small clues.
you still make your own hours when you're, in that role. And so I was just kind of, just sliding on in there, and so he kind of knew that I was a little bit checked out, and so he did me a favor. And it didn't seem like a favor at the time, but he did me a favor and he said, listen, I'm going to give you 30 days to think about this. And at the end of 30 days, I'm going to ask you to either turn in your resignation or, to close your business. And well, at this time, like I already had a lease for a year that I had obligated to. I already had taken out ads in the Yellow Pages and various other circulars. And I was already committed. I was already but I was also really committed on this side too. I had 2 years of 25% of my income that I was going to have to leave behind that I had been investing a portion of my income every year. And it was like, which way do I go? And so I had this grand idea that I was going to turn my book over to one of the coworkers in the office. And so I spent those 30 days trying to build up this little side situation in the office with Shirley. And so I introduced Shirley to all my top customers, and I thought, Shirley's going to handle your account. And so that day 30 came, and I'm like, I've got it made. And I go to the boss and I'm like, and you're not even going to have to worry about anybody servicing my clients because Shirley has it handled. And Shirley's going to, cut me 50% of the commissions that she makes. And so I thought I had it made. And so there I go. I turned in my resignation. He says, yeah, Shirley's not going to be managing your clients. We're just going to be uh, dividing them up between all the brokers the way we normally do. Goodbye. So literally this happened and I like go into a fight or flight situation because I was like, oh, I should have been focusing on building my other business, my new business, and I wasn't. And so, yeah, I had to get out there and hustle and to try to, create this new business. And what I learned from that a year and a half later, when I found myself in bankruptcy, was that it's not about hustling. Like that was what I was trying to get away from. That's what I went to that personal growth seminar to learn how to not do. But it's so easy to fall back into your old habits. And, I was just a novice. I was just a baby, just kind of getting started on this path. And I just flew right back to the same old, work hard routine. And that one day happened where I'm just like literally just bawling my eyes out, having nothing, having to borrow money from people and just feeling like this shame. And I'm like, why? Why is this happening? And I heard it's like, you're not taking your own medicine. It's like basically, you're out there telling people, you can, make you can get your life together and selling these programs to people about how you need to hypnotize yourself. And it's like I wasn't taking the time to do that anymore. Like I was like just in this, it was just like I got caught off guard. I was just like in this state of fight or flight. So from that moment forward, I said, okay, I got to trust the process. I've got to trust that I'm going to put myself back into this mode of listening to, the things that are going to reprogram my mind to help me to feel successful. And within 6 months, I got out of that situation. I finally turned a profit. I finally, went into the black, and it's like, oh, I can breathe. And it just grew and grew from there. I got some coaching, and so that was, like I said, I was kind of like tricked, but I tricked myself. I was like fooling myself. And, it's like, you have to be in integrity with what you're actually selling. You've got to believe in it. And that was the challenge for me. It was just like, okay, it's not fun and games anymore. This is like it's time to actually do this.
What was that realization like, or what was the moment where you kind of looked in the mirror and realized you weren't practicing what you were preaching? How did that come about? Can you kind of walk us through that?
Yeah, so okay, after I had filed bankruptcy and now I'm like trying to still survive, and I needed money to just pay the phone bill and pay the rent on my, on both places, the places I lived and my office. I called my dad and I'm like, Dad, can I borrow $1,000? And he's like, Yeah, but this is the only time I can do that for you. And then I called my sister and like, can I borrow some money? And then I got off the phone with a friend and I just felt like it was like so humiliated at that moment. Like, and that's when I just broke down and I'm just like, why is this happening? Like this, and I felt myself like almost rise out of my body. And like I was journaling, I was like God, like why is this happening? God, why is, and I don't mean God like a religion way. I just mean like a spiritual thing, And I was just like, why is this happening? Why is this happening? And I sort of felt myself almost like separate from myself. And I saw myself down there feeling like a victim, feeling like this is happening to me, and feeling like, why me? And I saw that person. I'm like, that's not who you are. I mean, and I decided to just take responsibility in that moment. And there's just something empowering when you realize that this isn't happening to me. This is something for me. This is something that, I think a lot of people, they have that dark night of the soul. And I needed to kind of have that little epiphany to realize that's like, I'm not listening to the hypnosis that to reprogram my mind, to allow my mind to align with my ability to be successful. So it was just about owning it, and it was about taking responsibility, and it was about realizing that I haven't been myself since I quit my job, and I need to get back to the things that put me in the position to have the confidence to leave a six-figure job. I got to connect with that person again because I was disconnected from her. And so I reconnected. I got that feeling of, empowerment. And once I started listening to my hypnosis sessions again, I started getting ideas Like I started like, oh, well, you can have a sale. Like just little ideas on how to make money would just kind of pop up out of the blue when I was programming my mind. Oh, you could list your things on eBay, or you can list your things on Amazon, or you can, go and this is back in the day when you had CDs. You can go and put your CDs in these vitamin stores and these, and so I went out like every day for 30 days, and I got my CDs into stores, and I just did something different every day. I just would get these new ideas that would just, these inspirations. And so that was the kind of like the turning point. I realized that I had a wealth of resources that I could tap into inside of my mind if I would just take the time to reprogram my mind and listen.
So taking a step back, I mean, you went to these personal development courses while you're still working. What clicked? Because I feel like some people, it's sort of black and white in the sense of they believe in this programming your mind or they don't, and they believe in hypnosis or they don't.
Yeah.
What was it? What course or what thing clicked in your head of like, oh, I get it now, and this is why I believe in this, and this is what I want to do. What was that for you?
I realized how powerful the mind is. So when I went to, so the main course that I went to that like put me on this path, it was called Psi Seminars, and it's more like on the West Coast. It's a 4-day course, and during that process, during that course, we did a lot of, kind of group work and one-on-one work and work inside of ourselves. But every time we would close our eyes and we would just connect with ourselves, our inner selves, I just really enjoyed that. Like I just felt like at peace, and I felt confidence and like I'd never felt before. I felt this inner strength. I felt like this power, like I could do anything. Like I could set a goal, no matter how big. And one of the things in that very specific seminar was to think is to create. And I just really fell in love with that whole idea of, um, that I could create whatever I wanted. And here's a path to be able to create that. And one of the reasons why I decided that I wanted to create my own line of programs from out of that experience was what I first started doing was inviting a lot of people to come and experience the seminar. Right. So after the seminar, I was just like, wow, this is really, really great. I just felt amazing. I felt powerful. I felt like I can do anything. And I just wanted to share that experience with other people. I just wanted other people to feel like that, because everybody falls down, or, sometimes, and they need something to help them to kind of, get back up. Or, they've just reached a certain limit with where they're at, and this gives you the tools and the resources to help take you to the next level. So I just wanted to help other people to experience that. And what would happen is I would ask somebody to go, and I got several handful of people to come to the seminar, but most people, I just got a lot of pushback. Most people are just like, oh, I don't have 4 days, or oh, I don't have $500, or whatever it was. And so I'm like, well, how can I help people to learn this information? And it just hit me one day. I was like, well, what if I just made these recordings of like, what are some of the things that I've been learning here? Oh, I've been learning about forgiveness. Oh, I've been learning about taking responsibility. Oh, I've been learning about, uh, goal setting. And so I would make these recordings that would help people with those exact things. And I just figured I'll help them in the comfort of their own home. They don't have to spend $500. They don't have to go anywhere. They can just download or buy these recordings, and they can listen to them. And so that was kind of like what happened to me, was just that I just felt like overcome with this. I don't know, it's like when it hits you that like your mission is to help other people, you just have to you just have to listen to that message and go. And so that's how I was just feeling, is that I just needed to help other people on, to get to their next level.
Do you recall the situation where you felt you made your first breakthrough with someone else? So the other side of what Grant just asked you,
Yeah.
rather
Mm.
than your own experience, but
Yeah.
when you felt you got someone else to see what you did.
A couple of times. Some of the so when I number one, when I was going through hypnotherapy school, and we had to go home and practice what we were learning on other people, um, there were a couple of situations, even just right. I mean, these were my very, very first experiences with helping people. One was my ex-husband, who I actually ended up staying, we got divorced and we ended up staying good friends. And so one of the things I had to practice on him was having him forget the numbers. This is a very common little thing that you do in hypnosis, just to show them the power of the subconscious mind. So you basically, have them hold out their hands and you have them count after you take the number six away, and they like, turns out they have like 11 11 fingers. And his wife was watching, and and she was all nervous because he was like absolutely hypnotized to believe that this number was gone. She's like, put it back. And so I gave it back, and then everything was great again. That there was that situation. And then I made a recording. It was called life purpose, finding your life purpose. And so one of the gals that I was going through hypnosis school with, I gave it to her, and she listened to it, and she just felt like completely empowered. Like she knew what her life purpose was after listening to that. So that was the second person. But then the person that actually paid me for my services, the first client that paid me for my services in my office, she was a 78-year-old woman. She actually was one of my financial clients. And so she became one of my first clients because she just absolutely loved me. And she came in, and she was like 78, and she had been biting her nails almost her entire life. And she came in one session, and she was done. And like literally like 2 years later, because then by that point I had a radio show, it was called Hip Talk, and she called up on the radio show, and she's like, "Oh, this is what's her name? I can see her face, but her name's just like not coming to me right at the moment." But anyway, she calls up and she's like, "Yep, I still have my I still have my long nails." And that was like 2 years after the one session. She just stopped, like a 60-year habit, if not longer, in one session. And that did it for me. That made me really realize, like, this is so powerful. Like, I've just got to reach as many people as I possibly can. And so that was, it's just it's an amazing power. And it's just not my power, it's your power. It's something that everybody has inside of them. And it's just something that I guide you to discover on your own.
This is more of a selfish type of question, but I feel like listeners will also be intrigued.
Yeah.
Hypnosis in the subconscious mind, you hear a lot about right before you go to bed, right when you wake up, while you're asleep, listen to recordings because your brain is in theta or different wavelengths. How much is that, it from your opinion, your view of in the practice, real versus it's more of it's just a focused work where if you do it at any time, like your recordings, if I listen to it anytime, but I'm focused on it, does it really matter the timing there to enter the subconscious mind, or does that theta wave state really matter that substantially?
So it's a really good question. So you are naturally in those theta waves. You pass through that, like you said, when you're first waking up and when you're first falling asleep, you pass through that. So by doing hypnosis at those times, you're taking advantage of just already being in that state. And it just becomes a little bit easier to access hypnosis. Our goal when we hypnotize somebody is to get them into a theta state. So it may, during the process of being hypnotized, you do go through that alpha and then eventually theta and hopefully not delta, when you're going through hypnosis. So either way, theta is definitely the most um, receptive state that your brain waves can be in. And so the goal is always to get you there. Just like I said, the sleep time, waking time, you're pretty much already there. So you don't really need as much work to get to that state.
And following up on it is, if we're not at those times of the day, is there personal, like if I'm by myself, tricks or practices that is an easy way to get into that state myself?
You can practice a little bit of like self hypnosis, and just one of the things that you can do. I think of it in terms of first you want to relax the body, then you want to relax the mind, and I try to really simplify it. So, like when I give somebody their own self hypnosis routine, just think about relaxing the body by taking some deep breaths. You just start by slowing down your breathing, noticing your breathing, taking some deep breaths. Just by doing that, just by listening to your breathing, you're already going to slow down those brain waves a little bit. Then just imagine some kind of light or relaxing energy or something like that just moving down, and just say to yourself, I'm relaxing my head, I'm relaxing my face, I'm relaxing, just call out, about 10 areas of your body as you go down, maybe 10 different areas. You go down, 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 all the way down to your feet and toes. So that's body relaxation. And then the mental relaxation is just maybe counting backward. Okay, so by the time I reach one, I will be in a deeply profound, relaxed state of mind. And so you just 10, maybe just imagine yourself going down an elevator, or you can imagine yourself going down the stairs. And so I just kind of think in terms of like these tens, just to keep it like nice and simple. And by the time you have done your body relaxation, you've relaxed from head to toe, you've taken your 10 deep breaths, you've got your mental relaxation, you're in a pretty good state. And at that point, you can just start to give yourself some suggestions. I very much rely on visualizing. I think visualizing is the key to changing your subconscious mind, because the subconscious mind does not know the difference between what's real and what's imagined. I mean, being in baseball and sports, I mean, people mentally rehearse what they're doing and they get better at it because the body follows what the mind tells it to do. And so when you visualize yourself having the things in your life the way that you want them, you're going to start to notice opportunities that you didn't notice before. And you're going to, as you take action on those things, you're going to have, success in those areas. So anybody can do it, to themselves. And then, there's various different, levels. So you can do your self hypnosis, you can do guided recordings, or you can be with a, hypnotherapist. And each one is going to give you kind of like a deeper experience. Usually, a person can hypnotize themselves, but it takes a little bit more work because you have to actually operate from two parts of your brain at the same time, and you have to like be thinking about what am I doing here? But you absolutely can do it yourself.
Banko, I don't want to kill your journey here. I like the questions you're asking. I'm
Okay.
enjoying this thoroughly. So if you want to
Okay,
keep cooking,
I
keep
can,
cooking.
yeah, I can keep going.
Keep
I
cooking,
mean, I,
man.
I was just gonna relate what you said. I mean, it's more of a simpler way of thinking about visualization and everything. is the red car theory. You don't
Yes,
think about a red car, and then once you start thinking about red cars, you notice every single red car on the road. So kind of the same format of visualization. If you visualize what you want, you'll start noticing those opportunities, and that's immediately what I thought of when you said that.
absolutely. And that's called the reticular activating system at play. And so there's, it's a part of your brain that, really works to filter out all the unnecessary information because we're just constantly exposed to all this data. We're just exposed, and if we had to pay attention to the billions of bits of data that's constantly being thrown at us, we would go crazy if we had to deal with it all. So this part of the brain filters out unnecessary information. How does it know what's unnecessary? Or how does it know what's necessary and focus on? It whatever you're thinking about, whatever's deep in your belief system, whatever you're visualizing. And that works whether these are things that you want to have happen or things that you don't want to have happen. That it works in reverse too. It's like, why do I keep attracting bad, relationships? Or why do I keep, um, you know, having bad experiences in my business? Or why do I keep, why does this keep happening to me? Well, the reason why it keeps happening is because you keep thinking about it. And, it's like I was talking the other day about, just imagine that you have like two plants in front of you, and one is a beautiful flower, but the other one is just, an old dried up weed. And, but, which one of those is going to grow faster? And it's the one that gets the most water. It's the one that you pay the most attention to. So if you just keep looking at that ugly old weed and keep saying, this is so ugly, so ugly, it's like, why do you keep showing up? Well, it's because you just keep focusing on that. But if you water this beautiful flower, then, that's going to flourish and that's going to be your experience.
That actually it kind of changes courses a little bit in the conversation here, but it kind of relates in the sense of the plants and the weed and talking to it. You hear a lot of the theories of kids are most impressionable until they're about 7 years old. And
Hmm.
whatever their parents do, that is when their brain is most malleable, and whatever said, even if they don't understand what the parents are saying or doing, they're replicating their environment. How true is that in your eyes, and what's your thought process behind that?
It's very true in my eyes. The thing is that our conscious minds are not fully developed yet until we're about 18, really. But they don't even come into play. Like there's literally no conscious thinking coming into play until you're about 4 to 6 years old. When you're about 4 to 6 years old, you do start to have a little bit of a filter. So anything that is going into your mind during those early impressionable years, it's going in without you being able to say yes or no to that. Like you just believe everything. And so any of the things that you heard your parents saying, like, we can't afford that, we don't have enough money, or money's the root of all evils, or this, these kinds of people are bad, or, you're never going to amount to anything, or whatever it is that they said, it's like, okay, you just believe it. And so most of who we are is already in place by the time we're 18. And the thing is that most people don't even learn how their mind works until well beyond that. And now they're running around with all these like limiting beliefs that they've heard growing up as child. And and it's gets harder. Our brains are like a little bit less malleable as we get older and more set in our ways. And we have these very worn paths, these neural pathways in our brains that make all these different associations and connections, and based on, what you've been watching on TV and what you've been learning, whether you do or don't go to church, or what you've been learning at the office, or what people are gossiping about, all of that, it just has gone in straight unfiltered for much of our lives. And we can still be susceptible to that if we don't have any kind of like filters up. We can still, somebody says something, like you might have heard something on the news, you might have heard this person say that, and you're just like, you don't even know where you got that belief, but somebody just like put a new belief in your mind because you didn't challenge it, you didn't question it, you just said, oh, okay. That's the way that is. And then you walk around with this belief until somebody else, challenges you on it. It's like, why do you believe that? Well, and then you realize, oh, I just heard that one time, and I've been walking around with that belief for the last 10 years.
And yeah, I mean, you mentioned filters. How do you implement filters to stop that? I mean, as you get farther in life, what do those filters look like?
Well, and the filters can work for you or they can work against you. In most cases, those filters are actually working against you because like you want this new change in your belief system. Like, it's like, okay, so why am I not as successful as I want to be? Or why am I not attracting the woman or man of my dreams? Or why am I, uh, not able to change my eating habits or my exercise habits or whatever it is that you're trying to change? And so, you set out and you try to change these things. And then it only lasts for a couple of days because the information that you're trying to get through to the subconscious mind is blocked by your filters. So that's an example of them working, against you. Most of the time, that's the situation. We generally, as we become adults, we generally do have our filters are just kind of naturally in place. So we don't necessarily need, filters as much anymore because we just know this is this is this is the filter through which we see life. It is the filters that's kind of preventing that new information, from getting in. But if you through awareness, through kind of realizing, through like questioning, like this is how I've been thinking. And when when you hear other people saying things, to like just rather than just saying automatically accepting that as truth, it could just be like, let's let's check that out. Let's investigate that. Is that really true? And just getting into a new habit of this level of awareness of just saying, hey, I don't know if that's true or not, and you may find out that more things that you have been thinking your whole life turn out that maybe they weren't actually true after all. Maybe it was just something that you heard when you were young, or you heard when you were at a very impressionable moment or in an emotional moment, or anything like that, and you just kind of agreed with it. And so it's like now you have the ability to say, I'm not sure if I agree with that or not. I'm not sure if I want to agree with that.
Permission to re-enter the chat.
Go ahead. I have
Absolutely.
a good question, but go ahead, Adam.
Oh, you have a good one?
I have a good one, and it applies to you.
Oh, I'm trying to decide if I want to
Are you
pocket my question.
are you changing subjects, or are you staying on the same thing?
It's very similar.
Okay, then mine's on the same vein as well. So
Okay,
we won't change topics. So you're good.
sweet. Okay. All right. So me or you?
Uh let me go, and it won't change subjects. So what advice would you have for a new parent, and not making too much of an impression on their kid, having their kid have the most open mind as they grow up? Like, what does that look like, and how would you advise a parent to be around their child?
That's a really good question. I love that So number one, I think the number one advice is just that to, they need to know that their child is impressionable. Like pretty much anything that you tell them at this stage, up until 5, 6 years old, just know that their brain is very literal and it takes things very literally. Like it doesn't understand humor, it doesn't understand jokes, it doesn't understand that you might be saying something in a moment of heat, a heated moment, or saying something out of anger. And so I think just knowing that information, knowing that like pretty much every word you say is going to get recorded, you know, into their tiny little subconscious minds, and it's going to grow. So it's, you're going to mess up. There's no way. You're not perfect, but just to like, know that like, okay, whatever I wanted this person to is my responsibility now to speak to it in an empowering way, to give that empowering. It's like I would just say, like you can do anything. I would just constantly let your child know it's like you can be, do, or have anything. You can be a success. You can, if you want to be smart, you can be smart. Giving it like the power to choose, I think is, giving it the power to be able to decide for itself. Like not necessarily saying, you're going to be a doctor, you're going to be a lawyer, you're going to be, like maybe it doesn't want to be those things, but like letting it know that's like, whatever you want to be, do, or have, you can be very successful. You can be whatever you want to be. And, programming it with values that, are universally positive and, just, you know, coming from, teaching it how to love, teaching it, how to be compassionate, teaching it, how to, just be generally a good person, and like knowing you have that power, you can mold, you can say what you can program it. It's like almost like your own personal computer. You can program it. You've got a lot of power there to do that. And so you got to be careful with that power, and make sure you don't take advantage of it. And keeping it as open as possible.
I do love the idea of empowerment there. And
Yeah.
Banko, thank you. Good question. Uh, yes, we're going to continue to bury the lead though with anything on that space. So
Yeah.
we'll see what plays out in the next few weeks.
Yeah. I don't
But
know.
Are you both
so
parents?
um, to be
No.
determined. This so
I'm
Victoria,
nowhere close.
uh Victoria, this is if people make it this far into the podcast, this would actually be them finding out that I'm an expecting father. So Banko, thank
Oh,
you.
well,
Thank
congratulations.
you very much. I
Congratulations.
appreciate that. Yes, my wife and I, at the moment of this recording, are 12 and a half weeks with a baby girl.
Ooh,
So we just found that out yesterday, and we have not announced to the general public yet that we are pregnant. So I guess in
yay.
a few weeks when people hear this,
They will
they
know.
will listen. I guess we'll see how loyal my close friends are that actually listen to the podcast. So this is
Yeah.
actually
Exactly.
perfect. So thanks for bringing it up now that I think about it. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have now gone on this little meandering road of speaking to go back to the question I wanted to ask anyways. So the childhood conversation actually kept it on subject. So thank you. Is there a way to re-enter this malleable state later in life? Banko had the amazing question about talking about the young mind, 7-year-olds, or up to that year seven. You talking about how impressionable the young mind is. I'm curious from your experience, is there a way to regain some of that malleability, or is it just creating a better relationship with your filters that you can then work through that personal journey of how you perceive an action or a detail or data point around you?
Wow. I mean, literally, I've never been asked that. That's an amazing question. No, it really is. Like that, like you hit on something I've not asked. So I'm just going to give you my opinion,
Perfect. Thank
because
you.
it's this isn't. I don't think I could prove my opinion on this, but I would say that chances are probably pretty rare that you could get back to that complete, innocent, malleable state. There's just, for one, the subconscious mind is never, it doesn't ever forget anything. Like all of the, it's a storehouse, it's a data bank of every experience, every feeling, every thought that you've ever had. So you'd really have to put up some pretty good filters to see through innocent eyes, and be able to see the world as if you don't have all of that information there. That being said, like, could you commit to, um, you know, to having the ability to take in new information as an innocent person? And I think you could program yourself to a degree to start to let go of the filters. And like you put the filters up to let go of the filters, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
Meaning, like, you program yourself to like see things as they are, rather than, because we don't see anything as it is. We really don't. We see things through our life experience. We see things based on what we believe about those things. I mean, you see what's going on. I'm not going to get into politics, but just as an example, you see one person, okay, and you have completely diabolical experiences happening. That's filters. That's just, that's an example. So could a person get to a point where they could see an event or see a person or see a situation and see it completely innocently? That's a pretty tough, challenge. And I don't know if many people are really up to that challenge, because you have to be able to completely let go of your ego. And there's also the subconscious mind, the filters, they're there for safety. They're there to keep you protected. So they're there for a very good reason. So I know that was a little bit of a long-winded way of saying probably not. Probably not. But, is there a possibility? Anything's possible. Anything's possible.
And then following that up, maybe this is where we can get a little bit more into the practical. I'm curious if you have any experience working with those of differing abilities. So maybe someone on the autism spectrum or someone with a different sort of brain wiring where they might perceive information differently than what would be quote unquote normal. Not that I'm ever trying to say that somebody that
Yeah.
functions a little bit differently is abnormal, but I
Yeah.
feel like why not go down this route where somebody might perceive the information around them a little bit differently, so they might filter in a different way, sticking to these themes. So I'd love to hear about any experiences you have in that realm, and maybe uh, challenges you have seen, or just maybe the different paths that this brings you to.
So I'm not the best person to ask that particular question to, and
Okay.
I'll tell you why. And it's just because, we each, we specialize in like kind of different modalities or different types of skill
Right.
sets. And I made the decision a long ago, because it's like kind of a sketchy place to go. It's like whenever you're dealing with any of the labeled mental things, some states let you say the words, and some states actually don't. So by regulation, a lot of, when you're dealing with people who have these mental disabilities, it's highly regulated. So I just decided to remove myself from that whole thing, so I'm not dealing with any regulations and that kind of thing. So I just kind of deal a little bit more with, I even asked the question, do you take any psychological medication? And if they do, that's not somebody I'm gonna take on. I try to keep it to, yeah, I just try to stay out of that area.
Well, I appreciate your honesty there. I'm
Yeah.
sure you can understand how we have gone down this path to get to
Mm-hmm.
these questions, and
Absolutely.
hopefully that offers some insight into the way that Banko and I think.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
I know you said earlier you work a ton on manifestation. So I know we have gone well off the beaten path. But Banko, if you have anything else before we go kind of back into the manifestation world or where Victoria does make her living on a daily basis, I'd love to give this back to you.
Yeah, one question along these lines. In your practice and working with patients, what is your thought process on any herbal medications, supplementations, clinical trials that sort of manipulate the mind and studies out there? Do you like believe in that, interested in that, or is that another situation where you kind of avoid that side of the world with this?
I do avoid that side of the world. I'll even I try to be sort of all natural, when it comes to the mind, because I want people to be able to tap into their own resource without the need for external help. I even went as far as to not want to have any help with binaural beats, which is a mind, thing, enhancer. And so I have kind of allowed myself to go into that area, but then when it comes to any kind of physical or, herbal supplements, I kind of stay out of that area. That's also just another area I just sort of stay out of.
Well, Banko, you asked that question way more sophisticatedly than I planned to. Because
Yeah.
I was debating asking about mind altering substances, and the way you did it, love it, smooth, very politically correct, as
Yeah,
opposed to
kind
me
of.
saying anything about drugs. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. So Victoria, you said you've used binaural beats, or you avoided that as well?
So now I do use binaural beats. I figure, well, if it can help, if that, just something in the brain, if that can help them, then that is something I do um, include in my sessions.
So I've tested it on myself in
The
some
binaural beats?
capacity.
Yeah.
Yes, or I've tried it. I don't know if it really did anything or not.
Yeah.
I would just be interested in sort of your conviction behind them, or is it more patient specific?
Oh, and just I'm being a little picky here, but because again, it's like this whole health law kind of thing. We don't refer to them as patients.
I wanted to ask that. That's
Okay,
actually where I was going to
perfect.
go with my next question. So
Yeah.
is client the proper term?
Clients, like
Client,
Okay,
okay.
clients.
thank you for
Yeah.
educating us.
No, and I just, it's like just in case like any of my fellow hypnotherapists are going to come on here, they're like, Victoria, they're not patients. So I just
Yeah,
wanted
tisk
to
tisk.
clarify
Can't be
that.
saying that.
So when it comes to binaural beats, I have tested them on myself to know that they work really well, and I've gotten good feedback, from other people. I have found personally, I mean, it's just kind of a weird thing because they're very subtle. It's like you can't even really detect necessarily what's going on with these binaural beats. But I have just found that when I listen to these sessions that have them in them versus these sessions that don't, I wake up from the experience, not wake up, but I come out of the experience and I'm about for an hour. It's like, why do I feel so groggy? Like, that's the effect that those binaural beats just happen to have on me. And um, that, I believe that they do work. Now, one of the things that I want to also speak to, because it is in that same kind of genre, is subliminals, which I think a lot of people like to tap into when it comes to, mind altering. And that is an area I don't really buy into, is subliminals. Do you know what subliminals are?
I
Sublim
don't know that much about them.
From
so
like an
subliminals.
advertising perspective, yes, I've heard it in like marketing classes, but I'm curious if we're going to get beyond that here. So I don't want to say like, yes, I'm super familiar.
So subliminals are basically where the suggestions are given under music and they're barely audible, like barely just, like and you really consciously can't hear what they're saying. And the thought process behind that is that instead of you being able to filter out that information and reject the information that's coming in, that information is just going directly to your subconscious mind because your subconscious mind can pick up that information. And so to that degree, I agree with subliminals. I agree that it bypasses the conscious mind. It goes directly to the subconscious mind. Here's what I where I have a problem with subliminals is that it's just words. And the words don't necessarily change the subconscious mind on in and of themselves. It's the emotion, it's the actual feeling, it's the believing in it, it's the seeing it, it's the like experiencing it as if it's real that changes the subconscious mind. That's my belief about how the subconscious mind works. And so when it comes to these subliminals, where you're just listening to some monotone, you just have some monotone words that you don't even know what they're saying. It's just words that have no meaning. It's not changing, not doing anything to change the subconscious mind. And so the only way that they actually do work is the placebo effect, meaning you listen to these, you expect it to change, and then therefore you're changing.
That makes sense. So, along those same lines, then, I'm thinking of the Friends episode where Chandler's trying to stop smoking
Yeah.
and he listens to tapes where he's asleep and it's supposedly a recording that's while he's sleeping, it's entering the subconscious mind. So what's your belief on listening to stuff while you're sleeping and that effect on your mind?
It falls under the same category for me as the subliminals because look, have there been people that have quit smoking or done something with these subliminals? I would imagine that people are there's a subset of people that are getting results with those. Otherwise, they probably just wouldn't make them anymore. I always feel like, there's got to be a reason why a business continues to be successful at selling things. I just don't think they're as effective for most people, And so falling asleep, I always advise people when they listen to my hypnosis that you need to stay, in that theta state. When you get into the delta state, that's not your brain's not um, processing information in the same way as it is when you're in theta. When you're in theta, it's receiving and processing that information in a way that's actually rewiring the neural pathways in the brain. And that's what actually makes the change. But it's not doing that. When you're asleep, the brain is doing other things. The brain is busy restoring your body, healing you, and helping your mind to restore itself. So it's all about restoration and relaxation. It's not about changing anything. And so that's my theory on falling asleep. It's kind of the same thing as the subliminals.
I can keep
I
going,
have
Adam,
something
but
that
go ahead.
it's a subject change, so I hesitate to do it.
Mine's somewhat of a subject change too, so go ahead.
Should we rock, paper, scissors on air?
No, this is you. This is you.
Okay, all right. Um, Early on in Victoria's intro, she mentioned that she is also in the app development space. So I need to know where the tie-in is with the app. I've been sitting on this since the beginning, and I have like as soon as you said it, I was like, "Whoa, where does this tie in?" Um, so yeah, I would love to hear if this app is also tied to your manifestation hypnotherapy, or if this is just a completely different venture.
So it's all about the app. To be perfectly honest, like that, when I was telling you about the conversation I was having with ChatGPT, that's what we landed on, that is the thing that I need to be focused on the most. So the app is called Believe, and it's a hypnosis app. And it's kind of like, if you ever heard of, Calm or Headspace. Well, it's the hypnosis app, of like that. And but it also is, very much the niche that I'm targeting with that app is all about, programming people for success and manifestation. I mean, I do have like I had mentioned before, I created lots of recordings throughout my career, and so I have recordings on every aspect of your life, from health to sexuality to spirituality to you name it, and all kinds of habit changes. But my main genre that I really, really love and that I've been really putting most in the app is law of attraction, manifestation, abundance, and particularly targeting entrepreneurs. Because I think entrepreneurs are, the innovators and the people who are, causing change to happen in the world, and people have gifts to share, and they get stuck sometimes, and they get, like I was at different points in my career. And so I just have a real soft spot for helping entrepreneurs to break through their challenges, to be more productive, to express themselves, to overcome their imposter syndrome and become more confident and motivated and all the things, so that they can become bigger, better, and change the world. Because that's what everyone's really motivated to want to do when they go into business for themselves. They want to change the world in some way.
And how long have you been working on the app now?
This app is kind of an evolution of many different apps that have ultimately led to this final app. So, Believe was released in February 21st, 2024. So that it's almost a year old. And before that, it was HypnoCloud. And I had, HypnoCloud since about I would say 2015, 2014, 2015. And prior to that, I had a bunch of like little mini apps that all sort of ended up blending into the HypnoCloud app. Believe took, and it's still in the progress. It's like, it's just like it never, you're always updating and creating new features and that kind of thing. So it's still a work in progress. It probably always will be. But
I
yeah,
get it. I'm in the app space as well.
oh, you are?
Yeah,
Okay, so you
I
know.
didn't realize that you were in the app space until, yeah, given what I do. I know we talked about it briefly, but yeah, so everything you're saying, I'm intrigued by. I love hearing your story, your approach to it. I get the constant iterations that you're dealing with.
Oh,
But
yeah.
sorry to
Yeah.
interject. Back to
Well,
you.
and I don't know if you're dealing with the situation that I dealt with, but I'm on like my fourth development team now with this one app. So I probably don't need to say much more about it. I saw the big nod.
We brought somebody in-house on our side, and he is awesome. So
Good.
we actually talked about this on a previous episode with another individual regarding contract work versus hiring full-time.
Yeah.
And the individual that we brought on full-time is amazing. So we're in a great spot now. I love it. I'm very happy about this. It's not my story right now, though. It's yours.
Thank
So
you.
I'm again deflecting right back to you, Victoria.
Yeah, but it's always nice to hear somebody that kind of can relate, 'cause yeah, it's an interesting journey to say the least.
Yeah, and I I'm in the process now of pulling it up. I found it. I'm looking at this and trying to go through the download process now so I can check it out.
Yeah.
Can you kind of talk us through maybe the higher level view? I know you said you designed it with the entrepreneur in mind, but
Yeah.
I would love to hear kind of the maybe the elevator pitch in a sense, if you can.
Absolutely. I wish I had an elevator pitch. I need to have one.
You don't
Um,
live in the world of elevator pitches, so that's
y-
okay.
exactly. But essentially, when you first explore the app, you're gonna go through your onboarding to find out, what your goals are and how you want to feel. And, it's all designed to really help you to, create create those changes in your subconscious mind. And there's a way to save your favorites, as well as create playlists and remind you. You get badges. That's one of the cool things is you get rewarded. The more you listen, the more rewards you get. And there's actually a lot on our timeline for I'm looking at the next big thing is going to be the affiliate program, bringing on other content creators, creating, like a kind of a social connection, where, people can connect with each other. And yeah, so there's like a whole, roadmap of all kinds of new features that are coming.
Banko, is this my turn to run, or do you want to get back involved?
You can keep going if you have stuff with that. I
Yeah,
mean, you can keep going.
I'm really just amazed by the entrepreneurial journey on top of everything else. It's funny to me just looking back at the conversation that we've had so far, looking at it in chapters almost, starting with the finance life to then going on the deep dive in the applications that you work in a daily basis to now we're right back to talking about app development. This is crazy. But so now I understand the conversations that you're having with ChatGPT and
Oh,
why
yeah.
it wants you to narrow down.
Yeah. Oh, we haven't even talked about my books and my courses and
I
my
know.
speaking engagements. And I mean, I'm not like trying to say that, but I'm just like, yeah,
No,
it's a lot,
I keep looking over your shoulder at all the books behind you, and I've been wanting to ask as well, like, when did you actually write your first book? You talked about your exposure to the book that your mother sent you when you were 18, but we haven't talked about your journey as an author either. And of course, I have the app open, like I'm all over the place, and probably much how your chat GPT is. So maybe let's go to the writing journey now for a little bit.
Yeah, so the writing journey was very interesting. That also kind of came very spontaneously. I always thought writing a book would be something so overwhelming, something like crazy. It would take years and years. And I had this one. I've had a few people that was like, "You should write a book. You should write a book. You should write a book." And I'm like, "I don't got time for that." And so I was going to speak at a conference, and I was asked to do a training on law of attraction, like to do a certification training on law of attraction at that conference. And I'm like, well, that would be interesting because I knew that's all I talk about, from a YouTube, but I didn't like have any concise way of talking about it. It was just like, here's another idea, here's another idea, like, but I didn't really have like a training, and so that began the idea like, well, maybe I need to create the curriculum that I'm going to train on, and as a result of that, I said, maybe it's time to go ahead and write that book. And so that began the first book, Practical Law of Attraction. And what that's all about is the 8 manifesting conditions that are needed for you to be in alignment with, to bring about whatever your goal is, whatever you're working to manifest. And so that became, and then I decided I'm not just going to write a book, but since I'm writing a book about law of attraction, I need to put this to the test. And I need to actually write this from the standpoint that this is going to be a number one best-selling book. And I did that. And I got all the components together that I felt I needed to make it a best-selling book. I created a group. I got some really amazing people that were well known in this industry to write accolades at the front of the book. And these were people, some of them I had not engaged with yet, that just came about because I put it out there to the universe. And one of the funny things that I did is when I was writing the book at the beginning in the front matter of the book, I actually wrote out the names of the people that I wanted to be there in that space, including the foreword. And then one by one, I just started reaching out to those people and I got them all. And so just having those people give the testimonials for the book was helpful. Getting the group of people together to help promote the book was really helpful. And now the book has over 1,000 5-star reviews and ratings on Amazon, and it stayed in that bestseller category for a good couple of years. I kind of took my eyes off of that, like whatever you focus on expands. And when you take your focus off of it, and I put most of my focus on my app, most of my attention on that. So once I did that, the kind of the bestseller status and all of that stuff, it's not selling as much now as it used to back then. But for, yeah, a good two years, that stayed in the selling uh, book in that category. And then now I've got a few other books that I've followed up with since then.
And are your books that you have written, is it much of a series? Are you discussing similar topics or are you jumping to an extent?
At first, the next book that I released was a book on weight loss. And so that kind of did jump a little bit. I wrote another book on manifesting your soulmate, which is sort of still in the same, genre. I mean, every single book, what they do, the overarching theme is hypnosis and tapping into the subconscious mind. So I do stay in that genre. But, now I'm even more niched. Like now, like my very latest book is Practical Wealth Attraction, which is in a lot of ways it's similar to Practical Law of Attraction, but it's really geared toward wealth. And I really take a much deeper dive into those conditions and how you need to be with those for wealth, for the entrepreneurial journey. Whereas like Practical Law of Attraction is a little bit more general. You can use that for anything, soulmates or money or health or anything.
You want me
Banko,
to go at
would
him
you
now?
like to ask a question?
Okay. Well, I was just gonna say congratulations on the book, the app almost being a year. all the success you've had in this. I was actually, my subject changed back a long time ago when we went to the app. I was going to go to the book. So that kind of worked out perfectly.
Yeah.
Um, we've talked a lot about the subconscious mind, hypnosis. Your books are on more of law of attraction. How much outside of just hypnosis and the subconscious mind does vibration and energy come into that law of attraction in your practice?
It comes in quite a lot because I believe that the vibration, so that's condition number 5. And so I believe vibration, energy, emotion, they're kind of synonymous. And like vibration is essentially how you feel. And how you feel, you are exuding how you feel. And people can feel how you feel. People either want to, you're either resisting in repelling or you're attracting based on that vibration that you're putting out there. So it is an important aspect of it. It's not all there is to it. That's why like these 8 manifesting conditions, they're kind of like a wheel in a way. um, Vibration being one very important component of that. But they all basically work together. But yeah, vibration is extremely important when it comes to manifesting, hypnosis, law of attraction.
And this is more of a selfish personal question again, that I'm curious about. How to What's the best or easiest way for someone to raise their vibration to be in that sort of attraction state? I mean, I've heard different foods, different sounds, 528, 417 hertz frequencies, natural grounding, touching the earth, pets, plants, etc. What is real and what is fake in your eyes in that sense?
Well, all of those things can, and a lot of it is about personal preference. So if it makes you feel good, whatever feels good to you is the thing that's right for you. So if listening to those hurts, if that rings true for you and that feels good when you listen to it, then that could be a great way. Pets are very magnetic. As a matter of fact, you might not, I don't know if you see that one up
The
there.
the
That
cat.
was my cat's secret to manifesting.
Okay.
And, and so, because I think that cats are, yeah, have a very high vibration and, um, s- so do dogs, but I just happen to have, cats. But like listening to hypnosis, I have tons of raise your vibration type of programs right in the app. Not to be, totally selfish on that, but I think that's a wonderful way to raise your vibration. Going out in nature, if you, just go out and just connect with, the trees and wherever you are, somewhere out in nature, I think can really help raise your vibration. Just moving your body. If you think about vibration from the energy standpoint, and there's different types of energy. There's physical energy, there's mental energy, there's emotional energy, and each one of them has some kind of a vibration. If you're, out there moving your body, you're raising your energy, you're raising your vibration, you're getting those endorphins going. Singing, dancing, making love, all of these things, whatever you enjoy, whatever makes you happy, going to the movies, watching a feel good comedy, like so many things. So there isn't one faster way than the other. It's really just the fastest way is doing what makes you feel good.
That makes a lot of sense. And don't feel bad about trying to sell your things on this. This is your podcast, and I want to give you the opportunity, if it doesn't give too much away from the book itself. You mentioned the 8 phases of manifestation. What are
Yeah.
those 8?
Yeah. So the very first one is having a clear desire, really knowing exactly what you want. Number 2 is aligning your thoughts, thinking the thoughts that are moving you closer to that desire rather than thinking about what you don't want. And so many people, without knowing about, what they're doing, they tend to be thinking more in terms of what they don't want, thinking that is how you think about what you want, but you have to actually think about what you do want. The third one is imagination, really tapping into, the whole visualization, imagination. The fourth one is about belief. We talked a lot about these hidden beliefs that we have in our subconscious mind. And so getting the beliefs to be more in alignment with what you want. Fifth one was the vibration. The sixth one is tuning in to the super conscious, activating, the super conscious, which is like, that's like the infinite intelligence, and allowing it to guide you, allowing it to give you clues and hints, and toward whatever it is that you are manifesting. Seven is taking inspired and aligned action toward whatever you're manifesting. And then eight is the manifestation itself. How do you experience that? Are you grateful for that? Are you just kind of glossing over and saying, hey, next, so it's really about embracing whatever it is that, even if it's a small part of the manifestation, it's still a manifestation. Or even if it's a sign that the thing that you're working on is on its way, having the gratitude and acknowledging and celebrating that.
I appreciate you sharing that. I was waiting for the, and if you want 7 and 8, you know where to get it.
I'm not that way. I believe in the law also of reciprocity. When you just genuinely want to give and you want to help people, it just, so one way or another, it just comes back. What you put out is what you get back, and that's the karma, reciprocity, whatever it is. It's like whatever you want, give that. When if you want money, give money. If you want love, give love. If you want, you know, whatever it is, if you want help, give help. And if you want time, give time. All the things that you want, they're like out there. Um, and the more you just like come from a place of abundance with those things, the subconscious mind just automatically thinks that you have those things. So it's just gonna bless you with more.
I think that's a pretty good spot, like pretty good closing statement. I don't have much more, Adam. I don't know if you have any more questions like that you're dying to ask. I do have one more question, but I want to pass it to Adam really quick to see if he had anything else.
You kind of stole the words out of my mouth because what I fear now is speaking for another hour and a half because I don't think I can go down any more rabbit holes here that have an immediate stop. So out of respect for Victoria and our audience, and I guess refraining from making the joke I made about doing a 3.5 hour recording a reality, I will refrain from anything else besides just saying thank you so much and pass it over to you, Banko, for the final question.
Okay. So someone that's new to manifestation wants to get into it, learn about it. What would be your advice as a first step to getting exposure and sort of learning more about manifestation, law of attraction, vibration, etc.?
I would say the very first step is to understand it, to really, really know what it is. And so, I mean, I always do like to, kind of tout my book, Practical Law of Attraction, as a first step. I mean, you can even, if you're on Kindle Unlimited, you can even get it for free. It's a really, really great first step, and it's gonna, help you to understand like how to get super clear and super focused on what it is that you actually want. Because at the end of the day, I mean, law of attraction is about bringing you the experiences that you're most, you know, obsessed with and focused on and thinking about. And if that's a positive thing, that's great. If it's a negative thing, then you've got some work to do to, rewire what you've been focused on. So that's really my and learn how to reprogram your subconscious mind, because we've got a lot of conscious beliefs, counter intentions, counter beliefs that are working against us. And learning how to navigate that and deal with that. So there's two first steps there is what I would say. And so you can do the latter through the Believe Hypnosis app.
No, that's perfect. I just want to again thank you, Victoria. To our listeners, you heard it here. Get the practical law of attraction. Download the Believe app if you want to learn more about manifestation. Um, Adam, I don't know if you want to do any more outro or anything else. All
No,
right.
I think you nailed it. I don't know if there are any parting words from Victoria, if there's any last places you want to point the audience, whether it is to socials or a blog or a website or anything like that, your own podcast, which I
Yeah,
guess we didn't talk about, but
it's fine.
you've got a ton. So, yes, one last chance, I guess, chance
Ooh,
to plug whatever you
last
want to plug.
chance. Last chance. Yeah, so I'm on social media, Victoria M. Gallagher. That's my website. That's YouTube, that's Instagram, and that's TikTok. So you can look me up there. I've got over 1,000 videos on my YouTube channel now. So, you can just dip your toe in there and get to know me and learn about this, wonderful field. And I hope that I answered a lot of questions and demystified some of the mysteries that people might have about it. I hope I was helpful. And if I wasn't, please reach out to me and I'm, happy to answer any questions that you have.
No, this was awesome, especially from two cisgender white male college athletes that are just trying to learn a little bit more as we journey through life. This
There you go.
was incredible. So, all of Banko's quote unquote selfish questions, I think, were illuminating for me and hopefully the audience members. So, Victoria, you were a gracious guest. This was awesome. Thanks a ton for what you provided for us. And to all the listeners, thanks again for tuning in. Listen to Banko's outro and get involved if you want to. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Grant here. Thanks for tuning into the show. If you could like, share, and subscribe, we'd greatly appreciate it. Also, if you think you or someone you know has a good life story to tell, we are always open to guest suggestions. You can send those suggestions to our email, tworkpod@gmail.com. Thanks again for the support.